So if you want to understand how to actually move fast and innovate without breaking absolutely everything inside a massive enterprise, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're diving into this explainer to condense the core principles of the incredibly groundbreaking book, Lean Enterprise: How High-Performance Organizations Innovate at Scale. We're going to turn it into a high-impact overview that's going to fundamentally change how you view your organization's entire operating system.
All right, let's kick things off with a pretty chilling reality check from venture capitalist Mark Andreessen. He said, software is eating the world. And honestly, the reality is that every single company today is a software company. Even if you make physical goods, software is how you deliver value, it's how you manage your supply chain, and it's how you connect with your customers. Basically, if you don't treat software as a core competitive advantage, you're going to be eaten.
And to survive in this software-driven world, those old legacy systems, they just have to die. Think about the stark contrast between two very different management styles. On one hand, you have scientific management, or Taylorism, which basically treats the organization like a giant, rigid machine, and its workers are just mere cogs. It's all top-down instructions and strict control. But contrast that against the collaborative, highly human-centric Toyota production system. Toyota proved that when you focus on continuous improvement and actually build a high-trust culture, you achieve unprecedented quality. In fact, this is the exact system that completely revolutionized auto manufacturing at the famous Nummi plant.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll cover the adapt or die imperative. Second, culture is your operating system. Third, balancing explore and exploit. Fourth, moving fast at scale. And finally, number 5, transforming the enterprise. Let's just jump right in.
Section 1. The adapt or die imperative.
Now, there is a very stark warning hidden in a single number, 15. The average life expectancy of a Fortune 500 company has plummeted from 75 years a half-century ago down to less than 15 years today. Just think about that for a second. You simply cannot rely on past successes anymore. The long-term survival of your enterprise depends entirely on your ability to continuously discover new businesses. Innovation isn't just a buzzword, it's quite literally a matter of survival. And hey, if you're thinking your company's just too far gone to innovate, consider the Nummi miracle. When Toyota and GM took over the shuttered Fremont auto plant, which by the way had a famously toxic culture, they didn't even bring in a new workforce. Nope. They brought the exact same union workers back, but placed them inside Toyota's collaborative system. Within months, those same people were producing near-perfect quality cars. It proved a massive vital lesson. A toxic environment can be transformed almost overnight just by adopting a collaborative system. It proves that culture and systems drive results, not just the individuals.
Which brings us to Section 2, Culture is your operating system.
So let's talk about sociologist Ron Westrom's model on organizational culture. Ask yourself, where does your company fit? Are you pathological, completely driven by fear and power? Or maybe you're bureaucratic, where departments aggressively protect their turf and just hide behind red tape? Or are you generative? These are performance-oriented, mission-focused environments where risks are actually shared and failure leads to genuine, curious inquiry. As it turns out, generative cultures that freely share information will always outcompete pathological or bureaucratic ones, every single time.
Now, you might be thinking culture is just some fluffy, feel-good metric, but it actually directly drives the bottom line. Look at the data from the State of DevOps report. The top predictors of strong IT and organizational performance are actually rooted in intrinsic motivation. We're talking about high job satisfaction, feeling equipped with the right tools, utilizing your actual skills, and whether or not you'd recommend your workplace to a friend. Giving people pride in their work beats out trying to motivate them with carrots and sticks for sure.
All right, Section 3. Balancing explore and exploit.
So how exactly does a healthy culture manage all this innovation? Well, it's a lot like a virtuous cycle, broken down into distinct zones: run, grow, and transform. The profits you generate from effectively running and exploiting your mature products, the stuff where uncertainty is super low, that money must continuously flow down to fund the transformation and exploration of new, highly uncertain, disruptive ideas. You're basically optimizing the present so you can invent the future.
And to actively manage that cycle, successful enterprises like Intuit and Google deliberately allocate their resources across 3 distinct horizons. Horizon 1 focuses on your existing core businesses. Horizon 2 is for those adolescent, growing businesses that are catching on. And Horizon 3, that's entirely dedicated to exploring wild new ideas. By deliberately distributing time and capital across these 3 horizons, a lean enterprise perfectly balances the act of exploiting current markets while relentlessly exploring new ones.
Moving on to Section 4, moving fast at scale.
Okay, so to execute those Horizon 3 ideas without the whole machine breaking down, you absolutely need a concept known as mission command. Because as you scale, rigid top-down control actually slows you down. Mission command creates alignment at scale by giving your teams a really clear goal, specifying the end state and the purpose, along with the minimum possible constraints. Basically, you communicate the why and the what, and then you give your teams complete freedom and autonomy to figure out the how without micromanaging their every single move.
Because without mission command, well, you end up with the massive, agonizing friction of a traditional siloed enterprise. You literally end up with business units throwing work over an invisible wall to project teams, who then throw it over another wall to operations. If you've ever felt hopelessly stuck in bureaucracy, this is exactly why. This fragmented approach destroys your flow. It causes massive delays, feedback loops take months, and the actual value for the customer gets completely lost in all those handoffs.
To see how you break down those walls, we can learn a lot from how Amazon solved this scaling issue way back in 2001. Their solution was radical decentralization. They broke things down into autonomous two-pizza teams, meaning a team small enough to be fed by just 2 pizzas. They mandated a service-oriented architecture where teams communicate strictly through APIs. And most importantly, they instituted a you build it, you run it accountability model. Teams own their products entirely, from top to bottom, which completely eliminates those walls between development and operations.
And finally, Section 5, transforming the enterprise. So, what does this all mean for you? How do we actually make this actionable? Enter the improvement kata. Real transformation isn't about massive multi-year plans that are honestly just doomed to fail from the start. It's a scientific routine. Step 1, understand the overall direction. Step 2, grasp your current condition. Step 3, establish a specific target condition. And Step 4, experiment iteratively to get there. It's this rigorous 4-step scientific method for navigating uncertainty and driving continuous process innovation, entirely without needing a giant top-down master plan.
In practice, this means your transformation plan should look dramatically different than what you might be used to. There is no massive, risky, big bang rollout schedule. Instead, it defines the business objective and then immediately zeroes in on iteration 1 objectives that are targeted just a few weeks from now. It keeps the focus entirely on small, iterative objectives and rapid, continuous learning. Honestly, this is how you transform a massive organization safely.
So by focusing on culture, balancing your horizons, empowering your teams with mission command, and relying on fast, iterative experiments, you really can transform your organization to be incredibly resilient. But I'll leave you with a question to ask yourself today. Is your organization currently designed to discover the future, or is it just trying to protect the past? We managed to capture the essentials of this book in 8 minutes or less in English. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to In 8 Minutes and never miss what matters.